The twin suns were sinking low over the human colony. Casting long orange shadows across the busy marketplace, merchants shouted out prices. Children ran between stalls, and workers ended their day with laughter and trade. Everything seemed peaceful. Until she arrived, she was an alien girl from the proud Clythari race. Tall, graceful, with strange silver eyes that glowed under the light. Her skin had a faint shimmer, almost like polished stone. And her movements carried arrogance. She was beautiful, but her beauty came with danger. For in her people's culture, she was the daughter of a warrior house, used to getting everything she wanted. The humans in the colony had seen her before. They knew her temper, they knew her sharp tongue. Whenever she appeared, trouble soon followed. Mothers pulled their children close. Merchants hid their best goods, and guards looked away nervously. It was easier to avoid her than to challenge her. The alien girl strolled through the market with a smirk on her lips. She picked up fruits without paying. Tossing them aside after only one bite, she pushed past older humans as if they were nothing. A merchant tried to protest, but she laughed in his face. Her laughter was sharp, like a blade. "Do not test me, weak human," she said in a voice that dripped with pride. "Your rules mean nothing to me." The crowd stayed silent. No one dared to argue with her. She had strength, speed, and the backing of her warrior clan. Even the guards of the colony did not want to face her. But one man was watching. Daniel, a human engineer, stood at the edge of the marketplace. His hands were rough from years of building machines and fixing broken engines. He was not a soldier, not a guard. He had no weapon on his belt, yet his eyes stayed fixed on the alien girl. He did not look away when she shoved a poor farmer to the ground. He did not bow his head like the others. The alien girl noticed him. Her sharp eyes caught his steady gaze. For a moment, her smirk faltered. She was not used to humans staring back at her. Most avoided her, but this man, this simple engineer, did not flinch. She strutted over to him, her chin high. The crowd whispered. Some expected violence. Others expected the human to run, but Daniel stood still. "You," she said coldly. "Why do you stare? Do you not fear me?" Daniel's voice was calm, steady. "I see a girl who thinks she is stronger than everyone else," Key said, "but strength without respect is nothing." Her silver eyes flashed with anger. Never before had a human spoken to her like that. Her pride burned inside her chest. She wanted to crush his words, to break his calmness. "You dare lecture me?" she hissed. Her hand shot out, shoving his chest. The force made him stumble a step back, but he did not fall. He did not even raise his hands. He simply straightened his back and met her eyes again. The crowd gasped. A hush fell over the market. No one had ever stood against her. "You think I need your lessons, human?" she sneered. "You are weak. Your kind lives under our shadow." Daniel's voice did not shake. "Maybe," he said. "But even the strongest can lose their way if they forget discipline." The alien girl blinked. Discipline, the word was strange to her. In her world, no one ever corrected her. No one ever stopped her. She was always praised, always feared. Her lips curled in a mocking smile. But her heart felt something different, something she did not want to admit. She shoved him again, harder this time, but Daniel did not move. His boots dug into the dust. His eyes stayed locked on hers. For the first time in her life, the alien girl felt resistance. Not resistance of weapons or strength, but resistance of will. This human was different. He was not afraid. He did not care for her status. He looked at her not as a powerful alien, but as a spoiled child. The silence in the market grew heavy. Everyone waited to see what would happen. Would she attack him? Would he break? Or was something far greater beginning at that very moment? The alien girl laughed suddenly, a sharp, mocking laugh, but inside she felt unsettled. Why could this one human stand so firm when everyone else trembled? She turned away sharply, but her mind stayed restless for the first time. She wondered if her arrogance had finally met something stronger, something she could not easily crush, and deep down, though she would never admit it aloud, the alien girl knew this human was not like the others. Something about him would change her forever. The night passed slowly after the chaos in the marketplace. But the story of what happened spread like fire through the colony. Every human who had seen the scene could not stop whispering about it. An alien girl from the feared Classeri had been stopped not by force, not by guards, but by a single human engineer who did not back down. By morning, everyone knew Daniel's name. Some called him brave, others called him foolish, but all agreed on one thing: he had done what no one else dared. The alien girl, meanwhile, was furious. She replayed the moment again and again in her mind. The way Daniel's eyes never looked away. The way his voice stayed calm when she pushed him. She hated it, yet she could not forget it. His words about discipline echoed in her ears like a strange song she could not silence. She stormed into the market again the next day, determined to prove she was still feared. The humans parted before her, afraid as always, but this time there was a hidden tension in the air. The people were not only afraid of her, they were waiting to see if the human engineer would appear again. Daniel was already there, repairing a broken water pump near the square. His hands were covered in grease. His shirt was dirty, but his back was straight. He heard the murmurs before he saw her, and when he looked up, their eyes locked once more. The alien girl smirked, but it was thinner than before. She wanted to scare him, but a small part of her wondered if he would stand firm again. "You," she said loudly, so the whole market could hear. "The human who thinks he can challenge me." Her voice was sharp, mocking, but beneath it was something else, a thin thread of curiosity. Daniel put down his tools and wiped his hands. He stepped forward slowly, each step steady. He did not rush, he did not flinch. He simply closed the distance between them until he stood only a few feet away. The crowd fell silent. Every eye was on them. "You came back," Daniel said calmly. "I thought maybe you would reflect on your actions. But it seems you did not." Her silver eyes flashed. "Reflect. I am Clathari, daughter of warriors. We do not bow. We do not answer to humans," she declared. Her voice was loud, but the words felt weaker than she wanted them to be. Daniel did not raise his voice, but his words carried weight. "Then, perhaps. That is why you misbehave like a child," he said, "because no one has ever told you no." The crowd gasped, some even covered their mouths. They could not believe a human spoke this way to a Clathari. The alien girl froze. Her pride stung like a wound. She wanted to lash out, to strike him, but his calmness pressed against her pride like an invisible wall. She stepped closer, trying to tower over him. "You are brave, but bravery without strength is nothing," she hissed. Her hand brushed the hilt of the blade at her hip. The crowd tensed. Some expected blood, but Daniel did not move back. He lifted his chin slightly. His voice was even. "Strength is not shown by how many you can scare," he said. "It is shown by how much control you have over yourself." The alien girl blinked. Control. The word cut deeper than any insult. For in truth, she had no control. Her people praised her wildness, her fire, but this human saw through it, and his words made her feel exposed. "You dare," she whispered, her voice trembling between rage and confusion. She reached out suddenly and grabbed the front of his shirt, pulling him close. The crowd gasped again. Daniel looked straight into her glowing silver eyes. He did not pull away. He did not raise his fists. His voice was low but firm. "If you want respect, you must first give it." The alien girl's breath caught. Her heart pounded for a second. She almost forgot she was supposed to be feared. She almost forgot her pride. All she felt was the strange power of his steady will. But pride was a strong chain. She shoved him back roughly and turned to the crowd. "Do you see this human?" She shouted. "He thinks he can teach me. He thinks he can discipline me." Her laughter rang out. But it was hollow. Daniel stood straight, brushing the dust from his shirt. He spoke again, his voice clear. "I do not think. I know." His words hung in the air like thunder. The marketplace was silent. The alien girl's smirk faltered again. For the second time, this human had stood against her. And for the second time, she could not break him. She turned sharply and walked away. Her steps quick. Her people would never know the truth burning inside her chest. But she knew it well. She was unsettled. She was shaken for the first time. She wondered if her strength meant nothing compared to his unshakable will, and Daniel, watching her leave, knew something important. This was not the end. It was only the beginning. The colony was never the same after that second encounter in the marketplace. Whispers spread through every street, through every home. Humans spoke in hushed voices about Daniel, the engineer who had dared to face the alien girl not once, but twice. Some called him a fool. Others called him the only man brave enough to remind her that even she had limits. The alien girl, however, was not silent. Her pride burned like fire. Each time she remembered his words, her chest tightened with anger. How could a human, a simple human, stand before her without fear? It was an insult to everything she had been taught. It was an insult to her very blood. The next day she returned. Her steps were heavy, her silver eyes glowing brighter than usual. This time she was not here to play, not here to mock. She was here to break him. Daniel was at his workshop near the edge of the colony, fixing the arm of a broken loader machine. He heard the sudden hush outside before he saw her. The air felt different, charged with tension. He knew she had come for him. She entered without waiting, pushing aside the curtain that served as his workshop door. Her shadow stretched long across the floor as she stood tall. Her smirk was gone, replaced with cold determination. "You stand against me again, human," she said, her voice sharp. "But today, you will kneel." Daniel wiped his hands slowly on a rag. He did not rush. He did not show surprise. He looked at her the way a teacher might look at a stubborn child, calm but unyielding. "I will not kneel." He replied simply, "Because I see no reason to." Her eyes narrowed. She stepped closer, until the air between them seemed to crackle. With one swift motion, she pushed a table aside. Tools clattering to the floor. "You think words make you strong." She hissed, "Let us see how long your calmness lasts." She shoved him hard, harder than before. Daniel's back hit the wall, but his eyes never left hers. He straightened slowly. His voice, even strength, is not about who can push harder, he said. It is about who refuses to fall. Her jaw clenched. She hated the calmness in his tone. It made her anger feel childish. It made her fury feel weak. With a sharp movement, she grabbed a wrench from the floor and slammed it against the table. The loud clang echoed through the workshop, but Daniel did not flinch. "Do you not fear me?" she demanded. Her voice cracked with frustration. "No," Daniel answered firmly. "Because fear gives you power, and I will not give you that." His words struck her like a blow. For years, fear had been her weapon. It bent people before she even touched them, but this man refused to give it to her. He denied her the one thing that made her feel superior. The alien girl's hands shook, part from rage, part from confusion. She had fought soldiers before, but she had stared down guards who carried heavy rifles. All of them had broken before her. Yet here was Daniel, unarmed, untrained, still standing tall. "Why do you resist?" she demanded. Her voice trembled now. "Why do you not break like the others?" Daniel stepped forward, closing the distance between them. His eyes were steady. "Because discipline is stronger than pride," he said, "and because I will not let you rule me with fear." For the first time in her life, she stepped back. Not because of force, but because of the weight of his will. Her chest rose and fell quickly. Her pride screamed at her to strike him, to silence him forever. Yet something inside held her back, a strange feeling she could not name. The crowd had gathered outside, peeking through the doorway. They had heard the crash, heard the shouts. Now they saw the alien girl facing Daniel, and for once, she looked uncertain. Her silver eyes darted to the crowd. She could not let them see weakness. She snarled and slammed the wrench back on the table. "This is not over." "Human," she spat. Her voice was harsh, but inside, her thoughts swirled like storm clouds. Daniel's reply was simple, calm, and final. "No. It is only beginning." She turned sharply and stormed out, her steps echoing. On the stone street, the humans outside moved quickly to get out of her way. But many of them, for the first time, felt a flicker of hope. If one human could stand firm, maybe they all could. The alien girl walked fast, her chest tight. Her heart pounded with a rhythm she did not understand. His words would not leave her. His calmness burned in her mind more fiercely than any battle she had fought. And deep down, beneath her anger, beneath her wounded pride, something else stirred. Something she did not want to admit. The human had not just resisted her, he had shaken her world. The night was restless for the alien girl. She walked through the quiet streets of the colony, her silver eyes glowing faintly under the moons. Her heart was heavy with anger. But beneath the anger was something far more dangerous to her pride. It was doubt. She had always believed strength was everything. She had been raised to think fear was the best weapon. Yet the human had stood against her twice. His will was stronger than her force. His calmness was sharper than her blade. It unsettled her. It haunted her. By dawn, she decided she could not let it end this way. If she was to prove her power, she would confront him again. Not with games, not with threats, but with a demand for submission. She would break him. Daniel, meanwhile, worked quietly in his workshop. The sun had just risen, and the air was cool. He repaired a broken piece of farming equipment, his hands steady. He had heard the whispers through the colony. People were calling him brave, some even a hero. But he did not see himself that way. He was simply a man who believed respect mattered more than fear. The sound of heavy footsteps outside told him she had come. He did not look surprised when she pushed through the curtain. Her presence filled the room with tension, but Daniel did not stop his work. He placed one last bolt into the machine before turning to face her. "You again," he said calmly, wiping his hands. "Yes, me," she replied, her voice sharp. "You will not defy me this time." Daniel tilted his head slightly. His eyes held no fear. "Defy you?" He asked. "No, I am trying to teach you." Her pride burned. "Teach me?" "A human teaching a Cletheri. We are born with strength while your kind hides behind walls." She spat. Her words were meant to cut, but they sounded weaker than she wished. Daniel stepped closer, his voice low but firm. "Strength without control is chaos," he said, "and chaos destroys both you and everyone around you." The alien girl froze. His words struck deeper than she wanted to admit. For years she had felt a hollow emptiness inside. She caused fear, but never respect. She won battles, but never hearts. And now this human spoke as if he had seen through all of it. "You know nothing of me," she snapped. Trying to regain control, "I know enough," Daniel replied. "I see a girl who wants to be respected, but does not understand how respect is earned." Her fists tightened. She wanted to strike him, but something inside her held her back. The weight of his words was heavier than her own anger. The crowd outside had begun to gather again. Drawn by the tension, they whispered as they watched. Afraid the alien girl might hurt Daniel, but secretly, they also wanted to see what would happen next. Daniel looked at her steadily. "You act out because no one has corrected you," he said. "Your people gave you power, but they did not. Give you guidance, that is not strength, that is weakness." The alien girl's breath caught. For a moment, she felt like a child again. Scolded for the first time in her life, her pride screamed. But her heart felt something else, something strange enough. She shouted, slamming her hand against the wall. The sound cracked through the workshop, but Daniel did not flinch. "No," he said firmly. "Not enough. You must listen. If you want to be more than feared, you must learn discipline." The word echoed inside her like thunder. Discipline. It was foreign. Yet it carried a weight she could not ignore. She stepped back, her silver eyes wide. Her chest rose and fell quickly. She wanted to scream at him, to silence him, but she could not. His words had rooted deep inside her. Breaking through walls she did not even know she had. The crowd outside could feel it too. They sensed something. Shifting, the arrogant alien girl was no longer in control. The human was not by force, but by will. Finally, she spoke, her voice lower, almost uncertain. "Why? Why do you not fear me?" Daniel's answer was calm, steady. "Because I see not a monster, but someone lost," he said. "And I will not fear someone who simply needs to learn." Her throat tightened. The words felt impossible to accept, yet impossible to deny. She turned suddenly, shoving past the curtain and into the street. Her steps were fast, but her thoughts were faster. For the first time in her life, the alien girl felt the sting of discipline, not from punishment, not from force, but from words. And though her pride resisted, deep inside she knew something had changed. The alien girl did not sleep that night. She lay awake under the pale glow of her people's banners. Her mind restless, her pride screamed at her, telling her to forget the human, to crush him and prove her strength. Yet another voice whispered. Within, a voice she had never heard before. It asked her why his words hurt more than his defiance. She had faced soldiers. She had faced challenges from rivals in her clan. None of them had left her trembling the way Daniel's calm eyes did. When he spoke of respect and discipline, it cut through her arrogance like a blade. She hated it. But she also wanted to understand it. By morning, she decided she could not ignore him. She would see him again, not to fight, not to mock, but to demand answers. Daniel, meanwhile, was busy at his workshop. He worked on repairing a broken transport vehicle, his sleeves rolled up, sweat covering his brow. Around him, children from the colony watched with curiosity. He showed them how gears and bolts fit together. Teaching with patience and warmth, he spoke to them as if every child mattered. His calm voice carried kindness when the alien girl arrived. The children scattered quickly, their eyes widened with fear. They whispered her name and ran to their parents. The street grew silent. Daniel looked up, meeting her gaze. He did not look angry. He did not look afraid. He simply waited. "You," she said, her voice sharp but softer than before. "I need answers." Daniel wiped his hands on a cloth and stood tall. "What answers do you seek?" he asked. She crossed her arms, her silver eyes glowing faintly. "Why do your words not leave me?" she demanded. "Why do they follow me when I try to forget them?" Daniel studied her for a moment, because deep down, you know they are. "True," he said calmly. "You know respect is worth more than fear." Her lips tightened. She wanted to deny it, but the words caught in her throat. She had lived her life taking what she wanted, forcing others to obey, yet never once had she felt the warmth she saw in the children's eyes when they looked at Daniel. "You think discipline makes me strong?" she asked, her tone uncertain. "Yes," Daniel answered. "Strength without control is destruction, but strength with discipline builds trust, builds respect, builds peace. She looked away, her pride fighting every word, but her heart stirred. With something she could not ignore, she felt a pull, a strange curiosity that made her want to listen more. The crowd had begun to gather again, watching the strange scene unfold. They expected her to shout, to threaten, yet instead she stood there quietly, listening. Daniel stepped closer, lowering his voice so only she could hear. "You do not have to be feared to be powerful," he said. "You can be respected, but only if you change." Her chest tightened. Change, the word scared her. She had never thought of change. She had always believed her path was set, but this human was offering her something different, something she had never known. "You are bold, human," she muttered. "Too bold for your own good, or bold enough for yours." Daniel replied calmly, her silver eyes locked on his, searching for weakness. But she found none. Instead, she saw certainty. She saw a man who believed in his words with unshakable will. And something inside her began to soften. That night, she did not cause trouble in the colony. She did not shove merchants or steal food. Instead, she sat alone near the edge of the settlement, watching the humans laugh together. Their laughter was different from her people's. It was light, warm, filled with connection for the first time. She wondered what it would feel like to be part of it instead of standing above it. The next morning, she returned to Daniel's workshop. Not with anger, but with a question. "Teach me," she said quietly, "if your discipline is real. Show me what it means." Daniel looked at her with surprise, but only for a moment. Then he nodded. "Very well," he said, "but you must listen, and you must be willing to change." Her pride made her hesitate, but she nodded once. "I will listen," she said, though the words felt heavy, and so the lessons began. Not lessons of fighting or weapons, but lessons of patience, of control, of respect. Daniel gave her small tasks, helping to repair machines, carrying supplies for the workers. At first, she found them beneath her, but slowly, she saw how people looked at her differently when she helped. The children no longer ran from her. They watched her with cautious eyes, and some even dared to smile. That small change struck her deeper than any victory in battle. For the first time in her life, the alien girl began to understand what Daniel meant. Respect could not be forced. It had to be earned, and so the proud warrior daughter of the Clethari found herself standing beside a simple human engineer, not as his enemy, but as his student. The days turned into weeks, and something strange began to grow between the alien girl and Daniel. At first, her visits to his workshop were full of pride. She came with crossed arms, her chin held high, pretending she did not care. But slowly, the walls of her pride began to crack. Daniel gave her tasks that were small but meaningful. He showed her how to clean and repair machines. He explained why every bolt, every gear mattered. Even the smallest part holds the biggest weight. He told her. She listened, sometimes rolling her eyes, but she remembered every word. The people of the colony watched from a distance. At first, they whispered in disbelief. How could the feared alien girl, the one who once caused chaos in their streets, now stand beside a human engineer, working quietly like a student? Some thought it was a trick. Others thought it was a miracle. One afternoon, as the sun shone brightly over the colony, a group of children passed by the workshop. They hesitated. Their eyes darted toward the alien girl. For so long, they had feared her glowing silver eyes. But when Daniel smiled at them, they dared to inch closer. The alien girl noticed. Her first instinct was to glare, to send them running. But Daniel placed a gentle hand on her arm and shook his head. "Respect is built with patience," he whispered. She swallowed her pride and turned back to her work. The children stayed, watching curiously. One of them even giggled when a stubborn bolt slipped from her hand. Her cheeks burned with embarrassment. But she did not lash out. Instead, she picked up the bolt again and tried until it fit. The children clapped softly, and for the first time, their smiles were not filled with fear, but with trust. That small moment stayed with her all night. Daniel noticed the change in her. She still carried arrogance, but now it was mixed with curiosity. She asked him questions, not about war or battles, but about human ways. Why do you help each other so much? She asked one evening, watching him share his food with a hungry worker. Because life is heavier when carried alone, Daniel replied. But when we carry it together, it becomes lighter. The words struck her deeply. In her clan weakness was shame. To need help was dishonor. But here, among humans, helping was strength. It was something she had never seen before. Their conversations grew longer. Sometimes they worked in silence. Other times they spoke about their worlds. She told him of her people, their pride, their endless battles. He told her of humanity's struggles, of mistakes, but also of kindness and growth. At night, she found herself replaying their talks. Her pride tried to remind her she was above him, yet her heart felt something different. His calmness was not weakness. It was strength of another kind. A strength she had never been taught. One evening, a storm swept across the colony. Lightning split the sky, and heavy rain flooded the streets. Many workers ran to secure their stalls. Daniel rushed into the storm to help. Without thinking, the alien girl followed him. Together, they worked to save supplies from being washed away. Daniel slipped in the mud, but before he fell, she caught his arm. Their eyes met in the rain. And for the first time, she felt something unfamiliar. It was not pride, not fear, but trust. When the storm passed, the people whispered again, but this time with softer voices. They had seen the alien girl working beside Daniel. Not as a tyrant, but as one of them. Some even nodded to her in quiet respect. The feeling was strange, but it warmed her chest later that night as she stood outside Daniel's workshop. She spoke quietly. "You confuse me, human," she said. "I was taught strength means to command, to take, to dominate. But you show me strength is to guide, to give, to protect." Daniel looked at her with a faint smile. "Perhaps your people were wrong," he said. "Strength with kindness is harder, but it lasts longer." Her silver eyes softened, and for the first time, she did not argue. She simply stood there in silence, letting his words settle in her heart. Day by day, their bond grew. The colony saw it. The whispers changed. No longer was she called only the mischievous alien girl. Now, some called her the human shadow. For wherever Daniel went, she was never far behind, and though she would never admit it aloud, she felt safer with him than she ever had with her own people. It was strange, it was new, but it was real. The suns rose over the colony once more, but this time the streets felt different, where once whispers of fear followed the alien girl. Now quiet nods of respect trailed her steps. She noticed the change, though she tried to hide the warmth. It brought to her heart the alien girl had not shouted in weeks. She no longer pushed merchants aside or mocked the guards. Instead, she worked beside Daniel, repairing machines, carrying supplies, and even speaking kindly to the children. The colony, which once trembled when she appeared, now began to see her in a new light. One morning, trouble struck. A group of off-world raiders landed near the outskirts. Rough mercenaries who preyed on weak colonies. They stormed the market, shouting and demanding food, weapons, and credits. The guards panicked, outnumbered and outmatched. Fear spread quickly. The alien girl stood in the middle of the square, her silver eyes burning for the first time. She did not cause the chaos, she stood against it. The raiders sneered at her, mocking her as just another alien girl. But when they saw her stance, when they felt the sharpness in her gaze, they hesitated. Daniel arrived moments later, his face calm, but his steps steady. The crowd looked to him, as they always did now. The alien girl glanced at him, waiting for his words. He gave a small nod, a sign of trust. Together, they faced the raiders. She fought with speed and strength, her movements powerful and precise. But unlike before, her rage was not wild. She fought with control, with discipline. Just as Daniel had taught her, each strike was measured. Each action carried purpose. The raiders, expecting easy prey, were forced back. Their confidence broke under the strange sight of an alien warrior and a human engineer standing side by side. The people of the colony, inspired, gathered their courage. They raised tools, stones, and anything they could find. Together, they pushed the raiders out. When it was over, the colony erupted in cheers. The guards thanked her, the merchants bowed their heads. The children laughed and clapped, calling her a hero. She stood in the center of it all. Stunned, for the first time, the respect she had always wanted was hers. And it had not come from fear, it had come from discipline and choice. Daniel stepped to her side, his voice calm as always. "Do you see now?" he asked softly. "Respect earned through trust lasts longer than fear." Her throat tightened. She looked at him, her pride melting into something else. For years, she had believed fear made her strong. But now, standing beside him, she realized true strength was different. True strength was the ability to protect, to guide, to inspire. She lowered her head slightly, a gesture her people never gave to humans. "You are right," she admitted quietly. "I thought I was strong, but I was only feared. You showed me what real strength means." Daniel gave a faint smile. "It was always inside you," he said. "You only needed someone to remind you." From that day forward, she was no longer seen as the mischievous alien girl who caused trouble. She was seen as a protector of the colony, a symbol of change. Her people who once mocked humans now whispered of her choice. Confused but curious, and though her pride would never let her say it openly, in her heart she knew the truth. The discipline Daniel had given her had changed her life. The respect she had always craved had finally been earned. Not through fear, but through trust. At night, as the colony lights flickered and the stars stretched across the sky, she stood beside Daniel. Her silver eyes softer now. She felt something unfamiliar but powerful. It was not just respect, not just friendship, but the beginning of something deeper. She turned to him and said in a low voice, "The human who defied me without fear is now the one I trust most." And Daniel, steady as ever, replied with calm certainty, "And the alien who once misbehaved is now the one who walks with honor." The story of the human and the alien girl spread far beyond the colony, whispered across space. A story not of fear, not of arrogance, but of discipline, respect, and a bond that neither species had ever seen before.